I think the Africa Group has a valuable opportunity in that they are well-known figures in international criminal justice. They come from diverse parts of the continent, and so they bring their own personal experience, their own cultural experience to the table, which is very useful, and also their professional experience. And so I think the combination of all of that put together presents an opportunity to mediate between African governments and the ICC where there are issues that require mediation, and also to present a different perspective and an alternative for both the ICC and certain African states who may have grievances with the International Criminal Court. I mean, there are forums for that, such as the Assembly of States Parties, but for non-signatory states, for example, perhaps the Africa Group could encourage ratification and signature of the Rome Statute, or perhaps the Africa Group could work more towards capacity building for domestic systems, because the International Criminal Court is a court of last resort. And so ideally, if domestic systems were in a position to try egregious crimes, then I think that would be a significant success, and I think something that we should all be focusing on, and the Africa Group in particular, given their leverage and their reputation as a group. I think they have a great opportunity to make a difference. I think the Africa Group could do a lot of important advocacy and mediation between states and the ICC, or just with states in general, about their understanding and appreciation of international criminal justice in Africa and anywhere else, of course, because they have the networks, the connections and the gravitas to connect with heads of state and senior government officials. And so I think they can reach them on a level that, say, a civil society wouldn't, because their approach is different and their relationship is different. So I think they could leverage a lot of their networks and connections to ensure that senior government officials, heads of state, understand international criminal justice and the expectations in terms of the treaties and documents they commit to. So the Bashir case deals with the visit of Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir to South Africa in June 2015. And he came for the African Union Summit. But of course, as we all know, he's been indicted by the ICC on charges of genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity, and is wanted by the ICC to face those crimes. South Africa, as a signatory to the Rome Statute, having not only signed and ratified the statute, but also domesticated the statute, had a duty to arrest him, and they didn't. And so we took the South African government to court that very weekend that he arrived, seeking to implement the arrest warrant and to also hold the government accountable for failure to arrest him. And so the first thing that happened is the High Court in South Africa ordered that the state ensure that President Bashir is not to leave the country pending the finalization of the legal process, because we've seen this happen before. In Nigeria, for example, similar situation. He was there and civil society organizations initiated a case, and then he left before the proceedings were finished. So that's the first thing we got the court to do, ensure that he cannot leave. And then we resumed legal proceedings, and the next day we had a judgment where the court stated that he should immediately be arrested for subsequent transfer to The Hague. Of course, as soon as we got that judgment, the state advocate stood up and said, oh, well, we think he's just left the country. So much to our great disappointment, he wasn't arrested, but what we were then left with is a South African government that had violated a court order. That was the first thing. And second of all, a South African government that had flouted its duties in terms of international and domestic law. And so the matter went to the next level of court, which is the Supreme Court of Appeal. And there again we were successful. The Supreme Court of Appeal ruled that South Africa had a duty to arrest President Bashir, and that failure to do so was unlawful. But the state was not satisfied, and so they took the matter on appeal to the Constitutional Court, which is the final level of adjudication. And we will be in the Constitutional Court on the 22nd of November for the final hearing, and we'll have to wait for a judgment after that. So it's been quite an interesting case, because it was an opportunity to bring justice to the victims of Darfur. It was also an opportunity for President Bashir to answer to the charges that have been leveled against him, which I think is quite a valuable opportunity. And it was also an opportunity to make it clear that no one is above the law, head of state or not, in terms of the Rome Statute and the work of the International Criminal Court. Everyone should stand trial if they've been accused of these crimes.